Hey, welcome to the bonus round. This week, I am Jeff Keighley here at the new GameTrailers office with Garnet Lee, Andrew Renee, and Brandon Jones. This week, we're going to talk about something that has been talked about over the past few weeks, early access programs. It's been happening a lot on Steam, but with the announcement of EA Access, there's a lot of talk about bringing gamers into development a little bit earlier. Garnet, the EA Access program was kind of announced. I think initially people were like really excited about it, and they started to read some of the fine print and realize that it wasn't quite everything that we hoped, which was Netflix of all EA games for a couple bucks a month. Now it's like you see the restrictions that like Madden, NFL, when that came out early, it's like you only get 6 hours of gameplay in the first 5 days and things like that.
6 hours.
Yeah, 6
right,
hours.
6 hours.
Exactly.
It's kind of, what an arbitrary and weird restriction. I didn't even understand why you would restrict that early access period, because you've got your core player, you've got this person who's willing to spend money to like be part of your subscription service. They're already into your stuff. They're going to advocate for you. You're like, you know what? You can play that game for 6 hours. Well,
the thing is, I was surprised with Madden. I thought for single-player games they would restrict it, because otherwise someone will, in the first 5 days, finish the campaign and say, I'm not going to buy the game, right?
Okay.
But I think, yeah, for sports games, it was sort of strange to me. It's like, if you're going to play it for 20 hours in the first 2 or 3 days, it probably means you're going to keep playing it. But yeah, the thing is, I think people originally thought, oh, early access, I'm not going to have to buy the game. Because no, you get it for 5 days. It's basically like a demo.
Right.
Like EA used to do a season pass, and then you got to spend your $60 or a little bit less, since you get the 10% off digitally at the end of it. But it's sort of complicated to figure out what it really means. You as a gamer, Andrew Renee, are you a member of EA Access?
I am not a member of EA Access.
You
I was one of those people that was really excited about this when it was first announced, thinking, wow, the potential of something like this could be really huge, especially EA's got a really strong lineup coming out in the next couple of years with Star Wars and Battlefield Hardline, and we have Dragon Age Inquisition coming out this fall.
Mass Effect,
and so I was like, this could be really great. And then like you mentioned, the fine print comes out, and it's like, oh, it's not as great as we think, and they haven't, confirmed what exactly is going to be in the vault other than the opening titles, which we have seen.
Right.
And I want it to be better than it is, and I mentioned this on a GT News episode not too long ago about how I think that it's not really offering a value unless you know you're going to buy the game.
Right.
So like it makes sense for somebody who knows they're going to buy Madden to get EA Access, to get to play it earlier, because then you get 10% off. So then you end up still saving money. Granted, it's a little sliver of money that you save, but it's still a discount.
No, and I think it also would have worked years ago when EA had more games. I mean, the thing is now EA doesn't ship that many games anymore. It's like they used to ship, I want to say, like 3 or 4 games a quarter, and there were tons of games coming out with EA partners and EA. Now it's like you look at this year.
How do they fill the vault?
Exactly.
Because the vault, really, the value proposition here is the vault. So, my friend John Davison got this right away for $5 for the month because he had not bought Battlefield 4.
Right.
So for $5, he gets to play Battlefield 4 for a month. That's a good deal. And all of those, there's 3 other games in there, and you get them for what? You get them for life, which is great, and they're never going to revoke them, which is awesome. But how do they fill the vault if they're not pumping out that many games? And the next question is, as far as Madden goes, like how long after Madden comes out does the next Madden go into the vault? Because we got this old Madden, but now here's the new Madden. So the Madden in the vault is
it's just weird. I saw Peter Moore say something about like if games go in the vault, they're never going to leave the vault.
Right, they're there permanently.
But yeah, Brandon, I mean, when you look at sort of the confusion around this, does the cost sort of outweigh the benefits here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm personally not going to get involved. Like, I don't know a lot of people that would buy into something like this. What you said initially, like a Netflix model, like that's the absolute dream to me. That sounds really exciting. And I think it would obviously take a company the size of EA to kind of lead the charge on a project like that.
That's cool, right? Imagine you got all these old classic EA games, sort of like.
So that's what you fill the vault with. I mean,
exactly. Oh, all the classics were made sort of compatible. And you could get all those. I mean, not that you're going to play them at length, but the fact that you could sort of have any EA game from history. I mean, like you look at HBO Go. I mean, part of it is you get the new episodes, but it's like all this archive stuff.
Yeah.
You can go back and watch old Sopranos episodes if you want, or something like that. And I think that was the idea. Is like people got excited about Netflix for EA. But then it's when you think of like each publisher, if they do this.
If I wanted to play Mirror's Edge, if I could turn on my PS4 and have my EA like vault thing go, oh, Mirror's Edge, cool, I can play it for now.
Well, sort of like my Steam library over the years, it's like you've acquired a lot of stuff, and it's cool that it's all there on demand. But I wonder, with EA doing this, other publishers have sort of said, hey, we're going to take a wait and see attitude. Do you think we're eventually going to see like Ubisoft's system, and then Activision's. And I mean, everyone's going to have sort of a different system, and you're going to have all these different subscriptions.
Well, Activision already came out and said that they're not looking at doing something like EA Access. Now, who knows if they change their mind on that down the road? You know,
Money talks.
depending on how successful EA is with their subscription service. But I think that I'm glad that Sony came out with a really kind of harsh response to EA Access, and
why would you be glad about that?
Wait, hold on. let me finish, because I mean I was glad that they took a stance and said that we don't think that it's valuable for PlayStation consumers.
How much of that do you think though was based on the fact that they had a deal with Microsoft versus like Sony said, I guess, that they were offered it but passed on?
How much do you think it's because they have PlayStation Now coming?
Well,
I mean, come on.
Both of those, right? It has a lot.
That was so insincere. That was a horrible thing. They're like, oh, consumer, we know better than you. We're going to tell you what's good for you. No, actually, let me decide. Because again, like for my friend John, just the one game for $5 for the month, that's way better than $60.
Well, I don't think it's something to say, it's fair to say give people a choice or an option.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know what the numbers are in EA Access.
Platform holders should not be telling me what's a good value for me from someone else's publisher. That's ridiculous.
Well,
that was patently ridiculous.
Well, I don't think it was patently ridiculous.
Defend Sony.
Well, I've already been called an Xbox fangirl on this show, so I feel it's like my obligation to now take the other side.
Yes.
But I think that it's very much has something to do with PlayStation Now, because we talk about the Vault and how the Vault is the benefit really to EA Access, but in PlayStation Now is a perfect example of the juxtaposition of that, because those prices in PlayStation Now are just outrageous. Like they're asking so much money to access games for a limited amount of time that are super old.
Oh, business model's crazy, right? And that seems like, the tech actually, sort of works, and I think it's like there's some interesting ideas there. But what we're seeing across the board, I think, is everyone trying to figure out sort of a new digital business model. And you saw even with EA Access, they're like, GameStop's sort of involved. They don't want to upset GameStop, so you can sort of get, EA Access cards there. And yeah, everyone's sort of trying to figure this out. And yet at the end of the day, as you said, Brandon, everyone just wants the Netflix for games.
And it's a great idea, and we're going to get there, but it's not worth investing right now. It's not something Activision is clearly focusing on.
So what do you think of PlayStation Now? I mean, if they get the pricing model to a good spot, what do you think of PlayStation Now?
I think it's great, and I think that pricing is something that you can scale. Again, you get all the tech figured out, and then you introduce it at a level and see potentially.
Well, I think all those old arcade games, like I totally would go back and play like an old Crash Bandicoot or something like that for fun. If it was $1, or it's like it was, or better yet, it's a subscription where it's like for $15 a month.
I want to pay all on Netflix.
Right. That's what I mean. If you were going to spend like $12.99 a month and you got the entire history of PlayStation on your console,
even a selected history.
Yeah, I mean, I remember years ago there's this system called GameTap that Turner was just tried this similar idea,
I remember that.
which is an archive that was on PC. But yeah, I think that idea of like one subscription, you're going to get all this library content. Maybe you'll get some perks. And I guess maybe PlayStation Plus will eventually become that. And to me, it would be interesting if you said, hey, PlayStation Plus, you're also going to get access to PlayStation Now as part of your subscription or something. But yeah, I think that's where it's going to go, and maybe that's what Sony's saying, is that if EA goes off and does this thing, then every other publisher does something separate. It's going to be harder to sort of group that all together, and then you get this a la carte service.
Right. Well, and
which is fine.
And they're automatically competing then against the publishers they're supposed to be working with, to put games onto their platform. But EA Access is also different is a different kind of early access than I think some gamers are hoping is going to eventually come to the next generation of consoles.
Like for betas and stuff,
right? I mean, and we've seen, people, especially in the Sony camp, saying, we don't necessarily want what's available on Steam, like in the Greenlight program, available on PlayStation, because we don't want people running into broken games. And a lot of people have mixed feelings about early access on PC, because some people are all for it and like being part of that development process and the feedback, but other people are like, why am I paying you to fund your development?
No, and I feel like the console audience isn't used to that, because even with the Destiny, like the alpha, that was like a very raw alpha, and I think a lot of people played it and sort of like, I didn't get Destiny, and I was guilty of that a little bit. I was like, I'm not really sure it's there, and then when the beta came out, it's like, wow, it's like came together. So you're right, it's like you have to sort of understand the context of what early access is on a console. So yeah, you're right, the EA thing is really just get the game early. And you're seeing now even Call of Duty's doing that with sort of day zero, right? So it's like if you can get it a day early, and it's sort of that sense of getting games early. I think that's not going to go away.
Which is way different from the PC thing, and I think you're spot on about the PC thing, because it seems like as gamers, we have this inability to turn off buying something when it's there. It's like, oh, Rust is in front of me. Here's this giant disclaimer that says that this is a complete mess. Don't buy it. I'm buying it. And wait, after I bought it, it doesn't work.
But also, I feel like PC audience is a little more forgiving and that you'll.
Oh no, dude! They haven't been forgiving at all. They've been really hard on people.
But I feel like you will install it on Steam
those?
and then you'll go back to it later. Whereas I think in console you sort of give thing one shot.
I don't know, man. People like some of those subreddits get pretty nasty about like games
well, if you
that are
feel
on
ripped
Greenlight
off, the thing is, but it's like I think you have to treat it as like an investment, as you said, like a Kickstarter, where it's sort of like you're like there are a lot of Kickstarters that I invested in that like I still haven't seen a thing from, and it's just like to me it's like the Space Quest game. I'm still waiting to like finally get that, and it's like I get Kickstarter backer update like number 133. Anyways, we'll have to see what happens. But yes, early access sounds like it's a trend that will only continue. Hopefully they'll figure out the business model. All right, well, that's it for the bonus round. We'll be back next week with an all-new episode. But thank you to Garnet, Andrea, and Brandon Jones. Good hanging out with you guys in our fancy new set. See you guys soon.